This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Good evening, basketball fans. Oh, wrong channel, sorry. Oh yeah, this thing turned off. There you go. There's the super freaks. Right there. Yeah, so that's even bigger. I don't think that... Let me see. I don't think that's connected or something. So we got that one, and then we've got this one. Yeah, that one worked. Okay, I'm not sure why that name is still on there. Let me fix that real quick. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing pretty good. Have to go fix something really quick. Hold on. The stream boss. It didn't take. Oh, weird. Oh, look at that. Huh. Okay, there you go. I'm the stream boss. Caligal 3 is almost the stream boss. And I hope you guys thought that was interesting today. What was it? The interrogation of Col Russell Williams. I think that's his last name. All of a sudden, it just didn't pop into my head. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, right? Now it's weird to have somebody high up like that that's such a monster. Although those people exist. Alright, so let's see. I was made aware of there's these 3 elderly women in Boston who were murdered today, so we'll have to check that out. A second, let me show you where this is. Wow, man, what's going on there, Google Earth? Yeah, so it took me a little bit to find the actual house because they just had a picture of it, and then they did say what streets it was in between. But here we go. Let me go to this screen here.
We are here on Broadway, and the Massachusetts State Police Command Unit just pulled up on scene. You can see that big blue truck parked right in the middle of the road. You can see they are elevating a mast into the air right now. Detectives working in the street here, and just over that way you can see that's the home that they've been focusing much of their investigation on. The DA says that's where the bodies of 3 elderly people were found. They are calling it a triple homicide as they search for the person or people responsible. Newton police got the call around 10:15 this morning. The DA says the bodies were found inside the home. Right now, they're releasing few additional details, including who called 911. We spoke with the neighbor who says this is a quiet street, saying they never expected to see police investigating a triple homicide.
Just absolutely awful. I've lived here for 67 years. Nothing like this has ever happened.
I literally grew up playing on Broadway. Quite a few of my friends grew up here. So
67 years.
Yeah, it's just scary to not.
One of her best friends lives directly across the street from what just happened here.
Yeah.
Now taking you live back out here to the scene, investigators telling us they expect to be out here for a while. As I mentioned, that state police command.
It's this house right here, and where they're filming that looks like it's about right over here off of this road. Maybe a little bit. One of the shots is from down here, but it's this house right here. You can see the window back there with the blue and that one, and then the multiple windows at the top. That's this one, and it's the one with the triangle roof right next to it, this one.
Command unit just pulling up right now, hours after this investigation started. Now, we did see the district attorney out here for much of the day. At this point, there are no plans to hold a press conference, but both the DA, police, and the mayor here in town say that neighbors can expect to see police in the area for a while. Live in Newton.
Yeah, it's in Newton, kind of outside of Boston there. And there really isn't much information right now on it. It's just sort of happening. But man, who would just go kill 3 elderly people? And this is Google Earth shot here, and I think there's a possibility that the individual who owns the home is, and they're probably about 68, would be somebody named, last name of Arpino. Maybe like Donato Arpino, and that's one of the names that was associated with it. But nothing's been reported out there, so I mean, who the hell would kill people of that age just randomly? I mean, maybe it's not random, but they haven't caught the person yet, so they're still out on the run. Let's see. Yeah, well, it just happened today, so that would be the first time you heard of it, Daphne. Yeah, we have no idea. There's no even information to even speculate, really. I'm just rhetorically saying, man, why would somebody kill 3 people? We don't have any information at all to sort of go, ooh, okay, now this guy was somebody, and this, nothing. I'm just putting it out there now because maybe in the next day or so there'll be more information. All right. So also, like I always say, if you guys want to help support the channel, we got the stream goal set up at the bottom. The earlier show was really good. Hopefully this one can be just as good, so we can make up for a couple of those other days, and that would be awesome. All right. We're getting right near the end of the month. We've got 4 more normal days left, and then we've got our donation night. Not sure how much we'll be doing this month, but at least we'll send a whole bunch more money back into the DNA project for identifiers, because we just added 3 cases, which is about like $18,000 total, but we already had some more. We already still had some remaining money still in there, so I just got to keep plugging away. Yeah. Thank you, 15 Lee and Cali Gal 3. Yeah, it's like I always have this feeling that there's people out there that kill their elderly people that are living just too long for them because they want to get their inheritance or something. I think there's a lot of stuff like that that goes on. You're just living too long, you know? How dare you? Who gave you the right to live extra time? That's just like this wacko. This person was a hard lefty, by the way. But so if you're not one of those, don't go, see, Gray, there you go talking about. My dad, he was like 75 at the time, and he was still, 75, and he was still working as a nephrologist, and this lady said, God, your dad is terrible. He's taking away a job from a younger person that could have had it. I retired when I was at this age because I don't care what you did. Hey, everybody, put a 1 if you want people that are worse taking over a job merely because the person ahead of them is older and they need to get themselves out of there. Anybody? Anybody out there at all? I mean, it was so weird, that whole conversation. Put a 1 if you think, oh man, that'd be great to have a nephrologist who's about half as good, but by God, he's young and he needs to get the job. Stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I don't even know how. The argument just kept going on and on and on. I was almost astounded that somebody could actually think that way. It was weird. They thought it was sort of like, it wasn't. It was sort of like Ezekiel Emanuel with his, in the medical world, where they have effective life years, and those are the people who should get transplants. The elderly people, they're not really. It's not really a benefit because you give them a transplant, and they've only got a few years left, so we might as well just give and that's what you get with socialized medicine, stuff like that. All right, you get the decision-making people instead of letting people do what they want. You get people saying, well, there's a guy that's like 17 or 18. They got a lot of productive years left, and you are 60, so you're kind of almost done, and we're not going to be able to give you a surgery. Right. That's really a thing. Look it up. That's Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel. That's what he would try to sell to people all the time. It's like, what? Yeah. Anyways, so you got these 3 elderly people here that are... Yeah, I'll probably be doing this. I'll be going, okay, guys, turn it to page 27. We're going to be talking about... I'll be just like... I don't even know what case I'm talking about tonight, but it's something. Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Right? Won't you guys have fun? Hey, I saw 8675309. I bet she'll be watching too, laughing her ass off at me not remembering anything. Oh yeah, it'd be entertaining, wouldn't it? Yeah. Nobody wants to hire older people either. Yeah. I think it's a great idea to hire older people that have good experience. They are better with people, probably. I wouldn't count as one of those. When I get older, you wouldn't say, well, Gray, now that he's older, he's really good with people. Yeah, it's amazing. They can talk and read. They even know how to write letters. It's weird. It's very strange. When was the last time anybody actually wrote a letter to somebody? My mom still writes them, but everybody else types, and you send a text message, or she used to require that we wrote thank you notes to people. Yeah, exactly. All be senile together. Well, I don't have any more on that one, but that's something that's going on right now. If you guys see any updates on it, where there's names and maybe a suspect or something, let me know. Okay, here's something to take a look at too. So this was on Twitter. See, this is how unethical people are in the media. So watch this, watch this.
Ooh, get in the car!
So this is a crazy situation. Look at this guy right here. He's arguing with this older lady, and this older lady's son comes in and shoots. Look at this one. Jamal Green here. I mean, do you think this is a bias article or what? Watch it. Trigger warning. A few days into Chicago, a mother and her 14-year-old son were arrested for murder. How dare they be arrested for murder? The 14-year-old got her gun out of the car and shot this man after he was brutally assaulting his mother. So there is no doubt that this guy brutally assaults the mother. Watch.
Get your food! Who? Get in the car? Hey. Get your food! Get your food! If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my grandma, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Yeah, so her kid, you hear that little pop sound at the end? Yeah, do you hear that? It was like boom, right? And let's see. So that was a gunshot. Well, I'm on to a different case, though, so send me a link or something. All right, so we got the punch in the face, right? So everybody's like, wow, that's justifiable, right, everybody? That's totally justifiable. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, but it isn't. You know, that's the thing. I was thinking the same thing when I first saw it, but when you say, Chicago woman allegedly ordered 14-year-old son to fatally shoot man during restaurant altercation. Prosecutors, a Chicago woman and her 14-year-old son are facing murder charges after physical altercation inside a fast food restaurant. Carlisa Hood, 35, and her teenage son, that lady looked like she was 50-something, have each been charged with first-degree murder stemming from the fatal Sunday night shooting of Jeremy Brown at a West Pullman restaurant. Hood was also charged with felony count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor, was ordered held on a $3 million bond during a hearing. So you got that. And you still go, why?
And
that's crazy. How come?
Pullman restaurant. The mother and
So I heard it.
The witnesses identify the suspects to police. So this all happened Sunday night, police tell us, just after 11
So
o'clock,
that's when they
about
pull in and
11:05
everything.
p.m. 35-year-old Carlisha Hood and her 14-year-old son arrived at the Maxwell Street restaurant
Let's just go to
on
this
South Halstead
part.
at 107.
They don't really show anything there.
While the co-defendant was still shooting at the victim, the defendant instructed her son, the co-defendant, to continue to shoot and kill the victim. Once the co-defendant finished shooting the victim, the defendant turned her focus towards witness one. She began pointing at witness one and instructing her son to shoot her.
Now, she tried to get her son to shoot the witness. So I don't even know how this whole thing came about, but you know, it puts it into a totally different category at that point. That means there's something really wrong. You know, you see the kid at some point too.
Prosecutors say a mother repeatedly encouraged her 14-year-old son to shoot someone.
Yeah, she just kept texting him, hey, come, hurry up.
Carlicia Hood got into an argument with Jeremy Brown at a Maxwell Street Express last weekend, and at some point Brown punched.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because the guy was committing like, you know, like fear for your life type of a fight. I guess where the problem is when she started trying to encourage her son to shoot one of the witnesses. Like, what the hell was that? I mean, he was pummeling her in the face, so she had a reasonable belief that her life was in danger. And maybe her son would have been, you know, like if he just shot once and they left, I think people would just go, yeah, man, hey, good job, man. But it's all just sort of a different situation. You know, I mean, obviously people shoot to kill, so, you know, if you keep shooting, that wouldn't even bother me that much. It was more like the mom kept texting, hey, yeah, get out of here, and then asked him to shoot the witness, right? Lisa Hood, 35, was at a Maxwell Street Express at 11656 Halstead when she got into an argument with Jeremy Brown, 32. Brown's girlfriend was laughing, encouraging Brown during the argument, according to prosecutors. Hood texted her son and had him come to the restaurant as the argument turned physical, prosecutors said. Brown punched Hood in the head, and Hood's son took out a gun and shot Brown in the back, they said. Brown ran from the store as Hood's son allegedly continued to fire at him. The teen and his mother followed Brown into the parking lot, where she told the son to keep shooting Brown and to keep shooting Brown and to kill him, prosecutors said. When the teen stopped shooting, his mother allegedly told him to shoot Brown's girlfriend and then tried to take the gun from her son. The teen pushed his mother away, and both left in a car and drove home together. I mean, I don't even know. I don't care what happens here. There's no heroes in this one. This isn't one of those great stories, but it was spun in a way to make it seem like I don't even know, man. This is, what do you guys think about that one? It seems like what's going on right now is what's supposed to be going on. You got a brutal moron punching a lady in the face over and over and over again. Then you got a son that's shooting, but the mother encouraging, and he keeps shooting, and then shoot the. I think the mother is the one, and the kid needs to be put somewhere for a few years where he can just kind of learn something different than whatever the hell his mom's teaching. His mom sounds like an absolute idiot. You're teaching a kid to start shooting people at 14. So I don't really have any good thoughts at the end of the story. There's nothing positive to say. I think the mother, I think the guy got what he probably, when you do something like that and somebody defends themselves, the thing is his death is totally justified, okay? But her, it's just kind of weird because he's the one that convinced her to keep shooting and everything. And then she wanted him to shoot the guy's girlfriend. Okay, then it's a whole different thing. So she's the one that she needs to get all the charges. However, I wouldn't think there should be any charges for the kid shooting that guy the first time, at least. They might come up with something later. But it could just be, man, he's coming out here, he's coming after us, and but you followed him outside and you kept shooting. And it wasn't the other way around. So all kinds of problems here for them. All right, so give me the link to the story about the old elderly people about the wedding. Because I was looking it up today, and they just had the little quick blurb story, so maybe they've updated it since when I looked at it. Hey, what's up, everyone? I made it, but let's see. Maybe I can find it. 3 elderly kill marriage. Does that come up with something? Oh, now it's in the New York Post, so that might do it. Was that today, though? No, that's not that one. Alright, let's see. Oh, do they do a press conference here? Is there about one to happen, or what? What is this? Okay. Maybe there's a press conference on here. You can't scrub forward, though, for some reason. Maybe we can see what they say. Police responded at home. Sources will, with the knowledge of the investigation, tell NBC 10, Boston, that the victims appear to have been stabbed. 2 of the victims were preparing to renew their wedding vows, so they're about to renew their wedding vow this morning, but never showed up at the church. Investigators believe this was a random attack. Authorities have shut down the area of Broadway Street between Churchill and Linwood Avenue. According to the Middlesex District Attorney's Office, police are now looking for the person or people responsible for the deaths. Authorities are asking residents in the Nonantum area to remain vigilant. Oh yeah, yeah. Cindy's got her operation tomorrow. Easy peasy, Cindy. It's gonna feel great. You're gonna get in there. They're gonna lighten you up a little bit with some little sedative, you know. And hey, by the way, what was the name of that drug that I told you guys that I took for COVID? Where it tastes like metal in your mouth. I forgot the name of it. Anybody remember that one? Anyways, she's going to be, get a little sedative. Yeah, no, it's not ivermectin. Give me a freaking break. What a dummy. Yeah, Paxlovid. Yeah. It was weird because I was like remdesivir when I was talking to somebody. And I was like, no, that's not what I was thinking. That wasn't what it was. No, it's called Paxlovid up there. Don't you remember? Ivermectin. Jesus. Anyways, let's see. Oh yeah, so Cindy, you'll feel a little kind of loose, and then they're gonna wheel you into somewhere, and they're gonna say, "All right, we're about ready to begin," and you're gonna be totally out, and you won't feel a damn thing, and all of a sudden you're gonna be awake. And you probably won't feel much pain because you'll have just had the operation and they got you all juiced up with stuff. And then it's just sort of like coming off the medication, managing the pain, physical therapy. They'll probably have you walking around pretty quickly. Yeah. It's going to be all good. It's going to be all good. So with your kidneys, when you came on here and said you had kidney level 3, that wasn't true, right? You just had kidney stones, right? Is that right? What do you mean ain't? You teach kids with that kind of language? Jesus. Yeah, I quit taking the doxycycline because it I couldn't do it. Made my stomach bad. So what's going on up here? Is this live right now? Like we're waiting for something? I kind of like to hear what they're going to say here. I hear people rumbling in the background, can't you guys? I mean, it says live right here. And there's no bar to scroll back. Stage 3 kidney disease. Man, what's going on with that? They're gonna still do the surgery though, huh? Now you're gonna have to go manage that. Was it both your kidneys or just one of them? Yeah. So we'll get to the Bryan, that one of the documents that came out. We saw this a week ago, but I was holding it for the weekend here. So. The Kohberger document. All right, here we go. Let's see.
Good evening. Thank you for staying with us this late in the evening. I am joined at the podium by Newton Police Chief John Carmichael, Superintendent George
Don't do it. Don't do
Baines
it.
of the Newton Police Department, Detective Lieutenant Duke Donahue from the State Police, and Adrian Lynch, our Chief of Homicide. I am here for several reasons. The first is to give you a tiny recap of the information we have about the incident that took place today. I stress and will continue to stress this is a very active and ongoing investigation. We are in the very early stages, so details will not be particularly forthcoming with respect to the incident. And that is that this morning at about 10:14, a person known to the victims in this case called 911 that 3 people believed to be the elderly residents of a home on Broadway Street appeared to be deceased inside the house. We have since determined that those individuals obviously were deceased. That appears to be, at this point, from stab wounds and blunt force trauma. The preliminary investigation
There was a
indicates that there were
98-year-old
signs of forced
with that
entry
same name.
to that home. We have, as you have seen, been at the scene all day, actively following up leads. We do know that early this morning, there was an attempted break-in at Brookside Avenue, a home on Brookside Avenue, a home which is about a half mile from the house on Broadway. We do not know at this point whether those two incidents are connected, but we are certainly looking at what happened this morning. I'm primarily here for two reasons. The first is we are asking people to remain vigilant. This is the night to lock your doors and windows, even if you do not normally do that. It's a warm night. People may have air conditioners going.
They've got to have cameras
Be
around
vigilant.
there. Yeah.
We are asking people, if they hear or see something suspicious, please call the Newton Police immediately. Don't wait till the morning to report that to us. Call tonight. Additionally, we are asking residents of the Nonantum and Newtonville area to check any video they may have on their home, any Ring doorbell, Nest, any other kind of video. We really need the public's help with respect to this incident. So if they have, we have been out in the neighborhood, we have been going door to door. Obviously, it was a very warm Sunday. Lots of people may not have been at home. They may be just hearing about this incident. Please check your video. If you see something on there that appears unusual, please, again, call the Newton Police Department. The residents in that area can expect to see a continued increase in police presence. The chief will speak a little bit more to the additional patrols that we will have out there tonight and into tomorrow. The 3 victims have not yet been positively identified, and names are not yet being released. So I'm going to turn it over to the chief to speak a little bit.
Could be somebody with the last name of Arpino.
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking. There's a 90-year-old one and a 70-year-old version of the same name.
As the chief of police of the Newton Police Department, we are obviously very concerned with such a violent crime taking place within our city. We do plan on having some extra patrols out there throughout the night. We're going to use a lot of our own resources, extra officers being called in, extra dispatchers brought into the dispatch center to field any calls of other situations that may occur. We appreciate the state police and for the added resources that they're also providing us so that we can make sure that we keep our neighborhood safe. As I said, I am very concerned with such a violent crime taking place, and whereas this individuals are still at large, we do really emphasize again, be vigilant. Pay attention to what's happening in the neighborhoods, especially in the Nonantum and Newtonville areas. And please, if you do see something suspicious, please call us here at the police department and let us know about it. And hopefully, as far as the Newton Police Department, we won't rest until we find out who did this and we find justice for the victims that were involved here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Keeping in mind the preliminary nature of the investigation, I'll take a couple of questions.
Do you believe this was random?
Well, we have signs of forced entry. We have no reason at this point to believe there is a connection. That's why we are concerned particularly about the safety issue.
The signs of forced entry, is that the windows, the doors?
We are still processing that information. We have information about both.
Were the 3 victims related? And then we heard from several neighbors that 2 of them may have been married and celebrating some kind of anniversary.
2 of the individuals were celebrating a golden wedding anniversary this weekend. As you can imagine, this would be tragic on any day. To have family gathered for this kind of a celebration makes it particularly tragic, yes.
Was the 3rd victim
a family member?
I think it's random, but man, doesn't that just sort of seem, is it related to that somehow? Or like they knew about it?
We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't have a precise
Getting
time
gifts, you
as
know?
to the incident on Broadway.
Like when you get married, sometimes you have a lot of gifts sitting around. Or...
No, I don't have the precise time. Well, the incident on Brookside, we believe the incident happened around 5:45 this morning. The police received a call at 6:47. So the homeowners initially did not think there was any problem. They'd heard something that didn't seem to be a problem. Later on, they discovered there was an issue.
Yep, that's a wedding ring,
That is why we are
Danielle,
asking people, if you
That's
hear
a
something,
wedding
you
ring,
see
yep.
something, don't investigate yourself. Call the police department.
The person who discovered the victims, was he a member of the church?
Known to the family. I don't know whether they're
I'm just gonna make my
the church,
head
but they were
on the
known to the
screen.
family.
There we go.
That's all part of the investigation.
So you don't know when the victims were last seen?
No, they haven't.
Yes.
So this other incident happened at 7 o'clock in the morning, so.
No, it happened at 5:45. Yeah. Right.
So at what point do you believe that the homicide happened?
That's all. We're piecing that all together.
They were on their way to church this morning?
They were due at church. We don't know when this happened.
And should people, you said you didn't lock their doors, because right now, you don't need to.
No, we do not. That we want to be clear. We do not know, and we do not have any information at this point linking anybody to that family. So that is, we are asking for two things. In part for your help in getting the word out, people taking this
so cool.
very seriously in terms of their own safety, and also that they try to help us with the investigation in looking at videos or other surveillance they might have.
Yeah, it comes
to
out
see
of
if
just
it's
the left
captured
side.
anything.
So you gotta listen.
Last fall. None that we can recall.
Well, the
As
review
far
is
as
that
we
there was a triple
can recall,
homicide of elderly
obviously,
people
we've been out there
in
all
a
day
home
and have had occasions,
in
unfortunately,
the
when
Newton
there have been
area
double
near
homicides here,
Boston.
but we don't know that.
Apparently,
All
two
right.
of them were supposed to renew their wedding vows after 50 years. I think
They
it's
heard some
random.
sounds. They checked the sounds. They thought it was, as one would, maybe nothing. They later found some evidence that something had happened. So what we're saying is knowing what we now know, if you hear something, you see something, make the phone call and let the police come out and see if anything has happened.
They did not, the person did not enter the home.
Right. Attempted break-in. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there was another
They
house,
are
I guess,
all
where they
elderly.
attempted to break in. That's what they said. So there was another attempted break-in, but they actually broke into this house. So that's pretty crazy. All right, so there we go. That one's about, not a huge difference there. Just kind of random. Hopefully they make an arrest soon. There should be cameras all over the place, you would think. Okay, and then this is regarding Delphi here. Thanks, Kami. New evidence in the Delphi murders is expected to come to light despite a big delay in releasing a trove of court documents. The bombshell papers will be released ahead of the trial for Richard Allen, who was charged with the murders of two teens. I can't wait to see that. So the thing is, I think that it would be almost dumbfounding if Richard Allen and Keegan Kline aren't related. There isn't some connection somehow. Just given the incredible stuff like Keegan Kline searched for the gas station right next to Richard Allen's home, the Marathon gas station. The Keegan Kline was going to go, his fake account was supposed to meet Libby that day, and he merely didn't get to meet Libby that day because Richard Allen randomly killed her and had no connection at all. It was just going to be one of the worst days in the history of anybody. Like, for example, if Richard Allen was just a little bit later, she would have met the catfishing account person, and then Richard Allen would have come down, hey, that's mine! I was supposed to be able to... Yeah, that's what's weird about it to me. Okay? But that being said, just like in the Gabby Petito case where Brian Laundrie was in Moab talking to this girl who ends up being murdered herself just after, on the same day that they were in town, basically. Like the night after, they were still in town the next day. And then he goes off and he kills Gabby Petito later. So you'd think, oh my God, those have to be connected because, well, I mean, what are the odds? And yet they weren't even remotely connected. So, I mean, you can always say that there is a possibility that they're not related here. But man, wouldn't that just be an absolute shock? Because the timing of the searches, the everything. Judge Fran Gould said that sealed documents in the case against Allen will be released next week, allowing the public to have a look at them. The documents were expected to be made public this week and are made up of over 130 court filings. Wow. The delay in releasing the files comes after a review of the trove of evidence took longer than expected. A probable cause affidavit, search warrant, motion, I mean, these are amazing. The search warrant. You know, what is the search warrant in Richard Allen's home, for example? Regarding Allen's pretrial incarcerations and information on his mental health history could be part of the documents. I think the search warrant would have to be in there, you'd think. On Thursday, the judge issued an order for the state to release Allen's mental health records to his defense team. The judge also ordered the state to continue a hearing on the defense counsel's motion to suppress evidence. This request is thought to be related to a bullet that was found at the crime scene, which plays a pivotal part in the trial. Well, you don't know really at this point, because there might be a hell of a lot more information out there. The bullet allegedly links Allen to the killings of the teenage girl. Well, no, what he links himself there. He says he's at the park, standing exactly where the witness saw them, and he's the next person that Abby and Libby would have ran into. Let's see. Libby and Abby were murdered in February of 2007 after the two best friends set off on a hike. The teens were reported missing a day later, and their bodies were discovered on Valentine's Day. The two shared photos. Yeah, we already know all this stuff. So anyways, this coming week here, apparently a bunch of documents are supposed to be released. Okay? And also, as you guys know on this channel, I survive only off of the generosity of all of you guys supporting the channel, because there is no ad revenue on the live streamings. So if you are interested and you like the shows, if you could help support the channel with the, we have the stream goal at the bottom, and you get to be the boss freak on the lower right. And what I do at the end of the month is I donate over 50% of the net revenue to various true crime related charities and a DNA fund. And you know, every single night is, that's kind of how it works. You know, people help support the channel, and boom, that's why we have given away, what are we at this year so far? We're at $25,850 donated to various charities and a DNA fund this year so far. Last year was $62,250, $42,005 the year before, $22,000 the year before that, and we're at $152,600 since January of 2020. All right, so we are a channel that makes a difference, but we only get to make a difference if we can continue to keep doing what we're doing. All right, I can tell this night's sort of starting off slower than you would think it would, but thank you very much. All right, I'm going to move on to the Bryan Kohberger situation here, but I'm going to try to get those documents during the week. Thank you, Kathy Trapin. Let's see. Well, you know what? There's another. Let me do the Bryan Kohberger, and at the end, I'll go over the story about the body found in a bonfire. It took me a while to find the spot with the bonfire, but I was able to find it. Just kind of by looking at the landscapes, and it wasn't really anywhere right near where they were saying it was. Thank you, Allie Cake. Okay, so here we go. It's all at the beginning of this document. I don't really care about the argument part. This thing has information in it. Hey, thank you. Known as 617, brown-eyed girl. Da-da-da-da. One of you probably won't register because it was so close to the other one. You guys ready for this? So I'm not just going to do bullet points and tell you what's in there. I think you guys are smart enough that when we read it, it's like it means something instead of just going, hey everybody, he found this much DNA. Hey, look at it. We're going to go from right here down through the portion where it goes to the argument. It's like 7 or 8 pages in. All right. Thanks, Amber Maiden. Yeah, I don't speak to the lowest. Like, if you're dumb, I'm sorry. But I don't think freaks are dumb, so we're going to actually go over the actual. I'm going to read it here. Okay, so the argument starts down to. Now, like, there's the argument part. So I'm not really interested in that. Because it's the part above that has information that we hadn't heard before, right? Yeah, I won't be able to help you if you're one of those dumb ones. Yeah, you guys, hey Zozo, you see this new account that just popped up? See how that's a thing now? And everybody, they keep typing the same thing over and over and over again. They think it's hilarious, and it's just so childish. What a waste of time, you know? All right. Hey, thank you, Lily. You guys ready? All right. And I've said that before, but I had a dog named Li. Okay, here we go. Comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and respectfully moves the court for a protective order pursuant to information related to investigative. So this is what Colleen Fitzpatrick and the Identifinders does. It's investigative genetic genealogy, or IGG. This case arises from a quadruple homicide. Law enforcement found the DNA of a potential suspect at the crime scene, and the FBI submitted the DNA to one or more publicly available genetic genealogy services. Those are almost always Family Tree DNA and GEDmatch. Okay, the larger people like Ancestry.com and 23andMe, they don't allow law enforcement to use their databases. Now, in the future, there might be a way to sort of, maybe there's some trickery going on behind the scenes, sort of sneaking a profile in somehow. We don't know, but currently they just use GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, okay? And that's the thing that we've funded. We're up to 11 or 12 cases now that we've fully funded, giving somebody their name back or identifying. Well, basically, we're just doing it for identifying Jane and John Does, whether as part of a crime or not. Okay, every single body that's found out there deserves to have their name back, regardless. No, I mean, I guess if it was Ted Bundy or something, I was like, who cares, right? But you don't know until you do it, and boy, wouldn't that be interesting? You know what I think would be the craziest thing ever, you guys? Like, let's say we know how we cover tons and tons of cold cases that nobody else ever touches because it doesn't pay the bills, So we just cover all those cases over and over and over. We cover tons and tons of just sort of like cases that have Does in them and John and Jane. Wouldn't it be amazing to one of the cases that we've already talked about, and then someday we randomly are doing a genetic genealogy case, and it turns out that it is that person. I mean, it'd be so crazy if that happened. Like it just sort of stumbles upon, because bodies can be found anywhere. Let's say somebody goes missing from Pennsylvania. So you know all the missing people cases that we've covered that nobody else again ever touches because they're not the popular, cool missing person cases. So we cover all these, like hundreds and hundreds of those. So imagine someday if one of these other bodies found like in, you know, Michigan or something, and it was just somebody, a trucker had dumped the body there, and it turns out it's that person that was missing. I think that'd be insane. Hey, thanks, SV Kathy. Don't you guys? I think that would just be like, that would be the pinnacle of the true crime world right there. It would just be, wow, we covered a cold case of a missing person. Then randomly, out of the 25 cases we funded, one of them was one of those people. All right. So that's what we're talking about. So for those of you who don't know what genetic genealogy is in a nutshell, this is how it works. So there's so many people out there that don't explain it on other channels because they really don't know how it works. They just kind of give you this fluff thing. So the way it works is you technically extract DNA, whether you swab something or there's a body part or semen or blood, and you get the DNA, and the first thing you do is extract the sequence of the person's DNA that the blood or whatever the object was that you did came from. Okay, so you're trying to get the sequence. Sometimes that's really difficult, so you have to put it into these different programs. They have this software programs that it'll take different chunks of DNA and kind of cycle through, find the missing parts, fill it in, ding, 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 ding. Then it comes out with a sequence. Once you have the sequence, okay, now for all of you out there that have used 23andMe and Ancestry.com, when you're on there, you have the ability to download your raw data. Have you ever heard of that? You can download your raw data. I think it goes into a zip file, and it's got all the stuff about yourself. Then you can take that zip file and upload it to Family Tree DNA or GEDmatch, and on there it pops up with people that are related to you based on a centimorgan number, which is like the higher the centimorgan, the closer related. Like if it's 600, it's probably a first cousin or something. If it's 250, you're probably a second cousin. You know, I'm just throwing it out there, but it's just, that's how it works. And then you work your way down that list from the top to the bottom, building out a tree, trying to figure out who this person is. Okay, so the raw data file, that's where this issue comes from, because if you have a perpetrator out there, how do you get the raw data into 23andMe and Ancestry.com? Because you have to spit into a container and then send it off. They don't have that. So what this company called Bioinformatics, their software, what it does is it takes a DNA sequence, creates a raw data file using the sequence, and it looks exactly the same as the raw data that you would download from 23andMe or Ancestry. Then you take that file, you upload it to GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA, and boom! Now you're working on identifying an unknown person. That makes sense, everybody? That's how this works. And that's about the simplest way to explain it. But if you weren't paying attention and you were just too into the yay and saying hello and all that, you would have missed it. All right? Gosh, Gray, you're so mean to everybody. Jeez. Hey, by the way, if you guys want one of these notebooks right here, there's about 15 left. The blue notebook. Okay, look at that damn thing. All right, it's got that and the Freak stress ball. And there's also a blue pen that I seem to have misplaced over here, but there it is. Did that make sense to everybody? That what you do, basically, in a really short sentence, is you extracted a DNA sequence, you format it using a program called Bioinformatics. That mimics what Ancestry and 23andMe's raw data looks like. You then upload it to GEDmatch, because that's what you do with the raw data that you get from 23andMe and Ancestry. And then you upload it to Family Tree DNA and GEDmatch and start working through the Centimorgan matches. Now the names, those matches don't have names on them, by the way. They have email addresses and so forth. So you have to look those up, get a hold of somebody and say, hey, do you mind if I... so it's pretty complex, but then you start using the newspapers, and then you actually use Ancestry.com to build out trees, or another site if you wanted to. It's pretty amazing stuff. And these guys are, people like Misty Gillis, they're like savants, just really, their mind just absolutely is dialed in to this stuff. All right, ready?
I was ready, Gray. I'm going to leave now. As a matter of fact, there was 540 people right before I tried to explain the DNA, and they all left because it was just too boring for those idiots.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Law enforcement found the DNA of a potential suspect at the crime scene, and the FBI submitted the DNA to one or more publicly available genetic genealogy services to determine potential relatives of the suspect. The FBI then used common genealogical techniques to develop a family tree leading to defendant. So I actually did a sample on myself. So I downloaded my raw data, and then I pretended that I didn't know who I was, and then started working down with the matches below me. And I saw how it worked. She explained everything. I got to a certain place. I think there was a Hughes somewhere, but it was... I just kind of quit at that point. I saw how it works. Those guys are just better. They're really fast. The FBI then used common genealogical techniques to develop a family tree leading to defendant. The state seeks to protect from disclosure the names and personal information of the hundreds of innocent relatives on the family tree. The names of the publicly available genetic genealogy services used. You don't need to do that. But if you did use Ancestry or something, then there's a problem. Okay, there's no problem saying GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA. It's just really common knowledge in the industry there. The disclosure of this information is not required by Rule 16 of Idaho Criminal Rules and should be protected from disclosure for the good cause described below, including the state's privilege to protect the identity of informers as described in Idaho Rule Evidence 509. So here it is, the factual background here. On November 13th, 2022, law enforcement found the bodies of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Zena Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. All four victims died from apparent knife wounds. Law enforcement found a K-bar knife sheath. See, this is new here. On a bed next to the bodies of Madison and Kaylee. Okay, the sheath was face down and partially under both Madison's body and the comforter on the bed. All right, so if we go back to my old 3D animation here, and you go into the house, eventually to go up those stairs. It's just kind of, this is a walk through the house, basically. So you come up the stairs right here. This is where Zena Kernodle and Ethan Chapin were killed in this area. Then you go up the stairs here. At the top to the left is Kaylee Gonzalez's actual room with her dog in the corner. I don't know where the dog was actually, but. And then in this room right here is where Madison and Kaylee were killed. And I think it's just like this. In fact, it's so close. It's crazy because you could pretend that's the comforter. The way it was described was it was on. I don't remember exactly what the term is, but based on the wording of it, the sheath is likely placed right here on her side and on her side, and this is Madison, and Kaylee would be over here. It wasn't between them, or they would have said that. It wasn't between Kaylee and the wall, or they would have said that. It was on the side of Madison. And so She's right here, and the sheath, I believe, is right there. Okay. That makes sense? Yeah. All 4 victims died from apparent knife wounds. Law enforcement found a K-bar knife sheath on the bed next to the bodies of Madison and Kaylee. The sheath was face down, partially under Madison's body and the comforter of the bed. Law enforcement seized the K-bar knife. So what's weird about that is that makes it seem a little bit more accidental, that it's not just sitting out. It's like, or you just didn't want it sitting right out, and they would have to find it. But we don't really know what the genesis is or how that sheath got there. I mean, obviously the knife was in it at one point. Does it mean that they were attacked first because it's there? No, it doesn't mean it at all. It's funny how people say that, though. It doesn't mean it. He probably had the knife in his hand when he entered the house. The sheath was face down and partially under both Madison's body and the comforter of the bed. On the bed. Law enforcement seized the K-bar knife sheath pursuant to a search warrant. The Idaho State Police Lab in Meridian, Idaho, located DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The ISP laboratory determined the DNA came from a single source, and that source was male. Once law enforcement had single source DNA from the K-bar knife sheath, and that's really good to have. When you have a mixture, it creates all kinds of problems. Because humans actually share like 90, all of us have almost exactly the same DNA. There's just these little parts that are different. So if it's a mixture, how do you break out? I guess you don't need that other part. But how do you know what's the duplicate? It's just really difficult. Someday they'll be able to just really easily do it. Because if one has a little bit more, they're able to do it. If it's really evenly mixed, it's really hard. One of these days, I'll just be able to take a cell, though. I think that's kind of the key, is at some point, somebody should just be able to take one cell of something out of a sample and get a full DNA sequence out of that cell. And I think that's where everything will change, because right now it's like you need more of it. Right. Now let's see. Hold on a second. Well, thank you, Angela, on PayPal there. Are we trying to get one of the notebooks, Angela? Or? You're the only one on there, so you weren't writing. There was no wave on there, but you started the wave on there. Once law enforcement had single-source DNA from the K-bar knife sheath, they conducted what is called a short tandem repeat STR analysis. STR DNA analysis involves looking at 20 regions within human DNA and allows law enforcement to make a direct comparison. I think that's using, that's the CODIS right there. 20 regions within human DNA and allows law enforcement to make a direct comparison between two STR DNA profiles. That's CODIS. Law enforcement submitted the STR DNA profiles obtained from the K-bar knife. This is exactly how this works. So before I even read anymore, without reading, I'm going to tell you that the way it works is when law enforcement gets a DNA string from either a victim or a suspect of some sort, and they don't know who it is, or even later. Well, this is how these cases work with the genetic genealogy. They upload it to CODIS first, and then when they do, then you do genetic genealogy. Once the genetic genealogist gets a lead, it's called, which is the greatest freaking lead in the history of the world, because the DNA leads right to a person. The lead is then given to the detective, all right? And then the detectives get a warrant. Then they go out and surreptitiously collect a sample of DNA from that individual that the lead, the name that the lead came from. Like, let's say, like, after genetic genealogy, they go, hey, it's a guy named Kohberger, Bryan Kohberger. So they go over there and they collect something out of a garbage can, and they try to follow him around and collect it. But Kohberger was really clever about tossing things. But I think they knew that, well, that's his dad's house, so they just collected something, got the DNA, and it turns out that it's a familial match for certain. And then once he's been arrested, another warrant would be obtained to collect from Bryan Kohberger himself, and then that sample is compared to the original DNA sample, for example, in this case, off of the Sheath, and boom, case closed on that portion. So here we go. DNA profile obtained from the K-bar knife sheath to the combined DNA index. So there you go. Law enforcement submitted those same 20 regions to the DNA profile obtained from the K-bar knife sheath to the combined DNA index, CODIS, a database of STR DNA profiles from convicted offenders. And I've actually said this. What do you guys think of this idea? Everybody that's in prison should have to upload their DNA to GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA as part of the CODIS situation. That way, it'll tremendously help out the genetic genealogist by having a vast supply, endless supply of profiles in the system to do their genetic genealogy work from. Thanks, Christy Kazi.
The unknown DNA is no big deal. It was a party house. It is a red herring put by Ann Taylor to stir reasonable doubt. BK DNA is only on the sheath.
Yeah, we're not talking about, there's no unknown DNA that we're not even talking about unknown DNA here. Yeah, I'm not reading her arguments and stuff. I'm just going over, they got his DNA off the K-bar knife. He drives that type of vehicle. He drove around that night. It's so clear when we've gone over multiple times the probable cause affidavit, and it's absolutely 100%. Why what, Susan? See, when you type in a sentence, you go, why? Who the hell knows what you're talking about? Type in a full sentence, like, hey, why do you think da-da-da-da? Because I don't know what you're talking about. Is this one-sided channel? About what, Sasha? Yeah, okay, I'll tell you this, Sasha. If you believe that Bryan Kohberger is innocent, then you're dumb, okay? Right? But what I will say is, yes, I believe 100% that Bryan Kohberger is guilty of the crime, and because I can think that, all right? I know he's guilty, all right? He did do it, all right? But if you don't believe that, you're perfectly fine with it as long as you're fine with it. But if you come into a show and go, is this a one-sided channel? I'm just getting here. Oh, let me cry for an hour somewhere. Hey, thanks, Gray, for... wait, hold on. Let me help you out. All right, hold on a second. Where is this thing? Here you go. I don't want you to be sad. Here's your trigger bunny. It'll make you feel funny. Maybe even sunny. Don't be no dummy funny. Hey, look at that. Thanks, Lisa Murphy. Is this one of those one-sided channels? Oh, God. God. Oh, God. Yeah, that's for the jury, Susan, not for regular people. Yeah, in the legal system, they're innocent until proven until proven guilty, right? But don't you think it's weird? I mean, so here's what Sasha wants everybody to do. Everybody, So Sasha, with the trigger bunny, this is what she wants people to do. She wants people to never discuss a case until the case is solved. Then you can go ahead and talk about it. You shouldn't try to figure something out or anything like that. Because as soon as you start questioning about things, well, gosh, that actually might mean that you're suggesting something. How dare you? Innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, listen. Bryan Kohberger was in the area multiple times scouting out the residents, okay? On the day of the murders, he drives out there, gets there at about 4:04, and he leaves, and it's his car, right? The white Elantra. How do you know somebody didn't borrow the car, Gray? Well, that's stupid, okay? So anyways, Bryan Kohberger's car was out there, and then it takes him about an extra 15 minutes to drive home the way he went, way down south, curving around and stuff like that. Then he goes back, then he drives back into town to take a look at something, to see what, oh God, is there anybody looking? I think it was just purely to scope out his handiwork. Then he drives back home, and then they finally link up later in the afternoon, they link up his face and the vehicle and his phone all at the Albertsons, or I think it was an Albertsons, whatever store that was in down south there, right? So there you go, everybody. He absolutely did it.
I'm coming here and asking if we were only listening to one side, no questions. I like open discussions. Oh, God. And for you to talk to me, my question.
Get the hell out of here. God, what a baby. Jesus. You were the one that wasn't polite when you came in, okay? Just hang out, listen to how people are talking, and if you don't like the way the discussion's going, go watch something the hell else. But if you don't think it's rude to come into somebody else's show and say, hold on, let's go read Sasha's brilliant comments. I mean, they're just so ridiculous. Is this a one-sided channel? I'm just getting here. God, what a rude person. Get the hell out of here. What an embarrassment. God. Now, let's see. All right, so where are we at here? Once law enforcement had single-source DNA from the K-bar knife sheath, they conducted what is called a short tandem repeat analysis. STR DNA analysis involves, we already went through this part, they created the combined CODIS, the CODIS sequence to put into CODIS to compare, right? Then it says, a database of STR DNA profiles from convicted offenders, arrestees, and crime scene evidence to identify the source of DNA. No match was found. So there was no match in CODIS, right? Yeah. Let's see. Unable to find a match using STR DNA analysis, law enforcement decided to use investigative genetic genealogy to find a lead. Genetic genealogy allows individuals to trace their lineage or connect with unknown family members using DNA. Typically, it involves sending a DNA sample, such as a tube of saliva, to a genetic genealogy service like Ancestry.com and 23andMe. See that? I hadn't even read this yet. It's the same thing that I just said. The genetic genealogy service, but see, that's not. Yeah, so what is this? Typically, it involves sending a DNA sample, such as a tube of saliva. Right, that's how you normally would do it. The genetic genealogy service then creates a single nucleotide polymorphism SNP profile to use for genealogy purposes. A SNP profile is different than an STR DNA profile and is used more often for genealogy purposes. Hey, thanks, Robin. Hey, and Candy Girl. Put a 1 if you don't think if it's rude when somebody goes, is this a one-sided place? If you don't think that's rude, let me know, okay? Because I think it's just rude as hell. I'm just doing a show. I'm just here for the information here. So you don't think that's rude, Christy? Okay. Wait, no, you do. I don't even know what you're saying. It is rude, right? I said it wrong. I said a double negative. If you think it was rude, put a 1. How about that? Yeah, it's just, people don't really, they think that was just totally normal, and they do it in a passive-aggressive way. Like, they say stuff like that, and they say to themselves stuff like, oh, I just wanted to know because I'm just so curious. You know, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. You came in here to try to create a problem. I do, Zozo. That's why I asked it, okay? God, you're just just don't comment sometimes. Ridiculous. I do. I care. That's why I brought it up, okay? That's why I brought it up. Anyways, all right, so the Genetic Genealogy Service then uses an algorithm to compare the user's SNP profile to SNP profiles submitted to the Genetic Genealogy Service by other users to determine ancestry and potential relatives. The Genetic Genealogy Service shares with the user a list of potential relatives. That's GEDmatch, though. See, this is sort of incorrect because it doesn't use 23andMe or Ancestry. It's the same type of file that you would get, but that's not how it works. The Genetic Genealogy Service shares with the user a list of potential relatives, and depending on the specific Genetic Genealogy Service, personally identifying information on those individuals like their name, email, address, and the amount of DNA, so that's the centimorgans that I was talking to you guys about, the user shares with the potential relatives. The user does not receive any genetic information pertaining to other database users. Profiles are not shared with each other. This same process, used frequently by members of the public, can also be used by law enforcement as long as the people sign in. See, on GEDmatch, people have to say, when you upload your profile to GEDmatch, you have to select for law enforcement use or they can't use it. The technique referred to as investigative genetic genealogy, or IgG. Once publicly available Genetic Genealogy Service shows law enforcement potential relatives of the suspect, that's the leads right there. Law enforcement applies traditional investigative and genealogical method to build a family tree in an effort to follow the tree to the suspect. So let's do that sentence again. Once a publicly available Genetic Genealogy Service shows law enforcement potential relatives of the suspect, law enforcement applies traditional investigative and genealogical methods to build a family tree in an effort to follow the tree. That's not really either how it works. The genealogist does the whole tree thing, and they're the ones that give them the whole tree, and then they give you a name like, oh yeah, I think it's this guy right here. Shows law enforcement potential relatives of the suspect. Law enforcement applies traditional investigative and genealogical methods to build a family tree in an effort to follow the tree to the suspect or a close relatives of the suspect. That isn't how it works. There's some agencies have their own genetic genealogist, but that's why you use the first one. Family trees can be used to narrow down a potential suspect based on factors such as age, gender, opportunity, and known physical characteristics of the suspect, etc. Let's see, while an SDR DNA analysis involves looking at 20 regions within human DNA, a SNP profile contains 650,000 of the human genome of 3.3 billion nucleotides. Characteristics of the suspect, etc. And then in this case, investigators used investigative genetic genealogy to begin the process of developing a lead to the individual who left DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The Idaho State Police utilized a private laboratory to develop a SNP profile from the DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The private laboratory started using genetic genealogy to develop a family tree, but after law enforcement decided the FBI would take over, the private laboratory ceased its efforts and sent the SNP profile to the FBI. Thanks, Teresa. The FBI uploaded the SNP profile to one or more publicly available genetic genealogy services to identify possible family members of the suspect based on shared genetic data. You know, it's so interesting because we were saying, I actually said, why don't they get some DNA? If they have DNA, just quickly do a rapid FGG. And I actually said, you know what they should do when there's an active serial killer-like person out there killing people? They should do rapid forensic genetic genealogy. Quickly isolate a DNA sample if you have one, and then just immediately fast track it through the different stages and get it right in there, and boom. I mean, it sounds like they actually did exactly what we were, you know, just sort of a guess at what to do. You know what I'm saying? It was just sort of they didn't listen to what I said. What I was saying is, I think they did exactly what I was thinking. Man, they should be doing that. Is there anybody in here that thinks Bryan Kohberger is innocent? Don't go, well, he's innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, like, do you literally think he did not commit these murders? Is there anybody out there? I mean, honest to God. Now there's people that'll say stuff like, well, I don't know. I think, I have to see the evidence. I mean, that's great and everything. But I'm just saying, are there really people out there that think he is innocent right now? And don't go, well, he's innocent until proven guilty. So yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, that's just for the jury and law enforcement. I want to know what you think. Let me think. No. Right. Yeah, there's people that say that he was set up because they want more material to cover. They are full of crap, those people. Okay? Bryan Kohberger wasn't set up. He is the killer. That's why he was wearing gloves and hiding things in his trash can before he even knew law enforcement was onto him. Isn't that weird? I mean, that's what we all do, right? I mean, last week I bought a pair of gloves and I was out there moving things to my neighbor's trash can. It was strange. I just had a weird sort of compulsion to move stuff out of my own garbage can with gloves. Hey, thanks, Daphne. See, how come these other channels that think there's something like that, they don't just think of something like what I just said? How do they explain that Bryan Kohberger was wearing gloves? Even his sister thought, wow, this guy, he did something. And he's moving things to other garbage cans with his gloves on, making sure his DNA wasn't tossed out. Can anybody explain how that works in the setup realm? Oh, wait a minute. It was a guy, he made himself look like Bryan Kohberger, and he's the one that was, okay, he was the one with the gloves, and he was, right. Yeah, I don't know. How'd they mess up, Sasha? A lot of stuff going on in there. Glad you're... yeah. So we're just going over it. Hopefully it all makes sense. What we've talked about so far is that, you create a CODIS profile with a DNA sample that you collect. Then after you do that, you provide a DNA sample to a genetic genealogist service. They actually create a much larger, I guess SNP is what they call it. And then they create a raw file that you can upload to 23andMe and GEDmatch. And once you do that, they give you the centimorgan counts, and then you build out a tree until you get to where there's no more to go. Sometimes you have to have intervention by law enforcement to ask family members for help in providing a DNA sample so that they can narrow it down even further. So you do need that sometimes. Well, thanks, Christy Kazi. $5 extra for telling the truth. I cannot stomach these. I haven't watched any of them. I just hear about them.
Why would anyone want to frame this nobody?
Right. And it just happens to be a guy that was using, he had a white launcher. Well, I guess he was studying serial killers and whatnot. I mean, give me a break. So it says, where are we at right here? All right. In this case, investigators use IgG to begin the process of developing a lead to the individual who left DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The Idaho State Police utilized a private laboratory to develop a SNP profile from the DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. The private laboratory started using genetic genealogy to develop a family tree, but after law enforcement decided the FBI would take over, the private laboratory started using genetic genealogy to develop a family tree. Okay. I think I know who that is. I know the lab that was probably originally working on it. But after law enforcement decided the FBI would take over, the private laboratory ceased its efforts and sent the SNP profile to the FBI. The FBI uploaded the SNP profile to one or more publicly available genetic genealogy services. Yeah, but they didn't send it to 20... I don't know if the FBI has special access to 23andMe and Ancestry, but that isn't how it works. So, you know what's weird, though? I mean, once you have that raw file from bioinformatics, couldn't you upload the raw file? Let's say you used Ancestry, right? Couldn't you then upload that to 23andMe? Because I think they accept raw files, so couldn't you just create a fake account and upload it on there and just have a ludicrous result set from that? Well, of course they make you pay, Teresa. I'm just saying it's possible. So you could put it on there and have millions and millions of people on there. Just create a bogus account, pay the $150, whatever the hell it is, and you upload it. Although the thing is, I think you have to have no, it's not. Like, you can just upload your raw file, I think, to one of the other services, and you just pay the same amount that you would have paid otherwise, and then it starts populating your cousins and relatives. Yeah, I'm just wondering if they do that. No, it is possible, Christy. Yeah, it is. Let's see. 23andMe and Ancestry don't accept... Oh, if they don't accept it, then it's not possible. Okay. Yeah, my heritage, maybe? Okay. But you can download the raw file and upload it to GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA are the two big ones that the genealogists use. I know you don't upload there. I'm just saying, if you have some companies, if you have a raw file, they let you also upload it to their site, and you have to pay the fee as if you were there anyway. Right. Yeah, I've done it myself, so I know how it works. You download a zip file, and somehow this GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA know how to read it right out of the zip file. Must unzip it and go through all the different things. Huh? Yeah, that's what I think. I think everyone in prison already gives up DNA for CODIS, but why not at that same moment in time, for an extra $100, you create a law enforcement only section on like Ancestry.com or whatever. Then you download the raw data and you upload it to GEDmatch, and you do it for all of the millions of prisoners currently in jail, and that would be the most robust service you'd ever imagine. It would be so way easier for these genetic genealogists. You'd almost get a hit right off the bat, like probably first cousins all the time. And A lot of times they get like 120 centimorgans or less. So you're looking at third, fourth cousins, and they're still able to do it. Takes them a lot longer, a lot of times, but. They say somewhere in the document that the private company that started making the profile wasn't. Yeah, I know who I know who it is. Chris, we don't really, I don't want to pump them up because I don't like them. No, that's not the one. Identifinders. No. They're the ones that buy out everybody so that the smaller shops can't do anything. Yeah. Anyways, so the FBI uploaded the SNP profile to one or more publicly available genealogy services to identify possible family members of the suspect based on shared genetic data. The FBI could then view through the Genetic Genealogy Services portal information regarding potential relatives of the suspect who left DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. Based on information the FBI could see in the Genetic Genealogy Services portal, the FBI went to work building family trees of the genetic relatives to the suspect. DNA left at the crime scene in an attempt to identify the contributor of the unknown DNA. The FBI built the family tree using the same tools and methods used by members of the public who wish to learn, to learn more about their ancestors. For example, the FBI consulted social media, right? Viewed vital records, exactly. Birth certificates, yep. And viewed other information. You know what's a really great source for building trees is the death announcements in the newspaper. The obituaries. It's incredible. So and so dies, right? And it says survived by his children, and now you've got all the kids, and then you might even say and the grandchildren, and then you got all those, and you load those up in there, and you're off and running. Hey, thanks, Quinn B. No, Sasha, people say that when they're being rude. Just be honest and we'll get along better. MM plus KG MD goes downstairs. XK sees him. Huh? MM and KG go upstairs. KD M'd? What? Goes downstairs. He knocks her out, hence crying, not dead, and then come out and man, you gotta I can't understand what you typed in there. Yeah. He knocks her out, crying, not dead, then M's comes out, thud. I don't know. Maybe, but it's hard to make out. Right, but Sasha, you're not so stupid that you think asking, is this one of those one-sided channels, is something that's not rude, okay? So don't fake that you don't know that, okay? I'm not going to accept it that you don't know that. And if you do think that's not rude, then you're not welcome here, all right? So DM sees him. I don't know. It's hard to say that. See, so it's Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez are murdered. Then he goes downstairs. And Zaina Kernodle sees him. And maybe when she was in the kitchen, he knocks her out, hence crying, not dead. So I don't know. I think he wouldn't have just knocked her out. I mean, she was stabbed to death, right? So I doubt he would have just knocked her out. He would have wanted to kill her so that she didn't interrupt him. Okay, but I guess if he was just leaving and his goal was upstairs, I see kind of what you're saying. So when he's leaving, let me just put this over here. There it is. Goes downstairs. Zaina Kernodle sees him. He knocks her out, hence crying, not dead. Then murders Ethan, because Ethan came out to help Zaina, and he comes out and murders Zaina Kernodle, hence the thud. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like he was just going to leave, but then he attacks Zaina, and then Ethan heard it. So then he attacks him, and she's on the ground, whimpering and crying, and then he says, hey, I'm here to help it. But she would have already seen him So that's what I'm saying. It seems kind of weird that he would be able to say, hey, I'm here to help, when she'd already seen him, right? Does that make any sense to anybody? Yeah. And I'm going to hide Frank, and I'm going to hide Sasha. Thanks for being here, though, Sasha. It was good seeing you. Thanks, Frank. I had my little hero help me. Yeah. No, she wasn't being truthful. Now she's thanking another troll for saying the same thing. Yeah. Let's see. Good to have you here. Really? You think so, Regina? I don't think so. She got about 2 seconds to admit that was rude, or she's out of here. Okay? 5 seconds. Right. Yeah, you got an answer for everything there, Sasha. You're just so perfect. No. Anyways, we'll see. The FBI built the family tree using the same tools and methods used by members of the public who wish to learn more about their ancestors. For example, the FBI consulted social media, viewed vital records such as birth and death certificates, and viewed other informations already contained in the user portal for the Genetic Genealogy Service, including unverified information submitted by other users of the Genetic Genealogy Service. The FBI also consulted subscription-based databases available to law enforcement for information on individual people. The product of the genealogy conducted by the FBI was family tree. By the FBI was a family tree that contained the name, birth date, and death date of hundreds of relatives, as well as their familial connections between each other and the suspect. I wonder if Chat GPT at some point will be able to do a, I mean, that'd be crazy if it could do like an actual genetic genealogy service. Yeah, it could be Quinby, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't, that doesn't sound unreasonable what you're saying there. It was just hard to read with all your XD, this and that and the other thing. I just call them by their names. You know, I don't use the abbreviations.
As he didn't expect her, she would be crying. CZ in room, M's him, comes back out, Anna still alive, so M her. Thud, DM sees him walking out.
Right. I mean, it doesn't not make sense. It's just sort of, you know, he comes into the house and he murders them and he's trying to leave, and then as Zaina or whatever, let's say she's in the kitchen, you know, with her food or something, but he came through the kitchen, so it's kind of a lot of just crazy timing there. You know, she got their food at 4-ish, but the bag was in the kitchen, so I guess it's possible, like, he went upstairs and they missed each other. She goes into the kitchen, puts the bag in there, and as she's heading out, he's coming right at her and just shoves her out of the way because he's got his mask on, and that's okay, and he exits. But why didn't he just run out, you know? But so, like, Ethan was in the room and heard it and was able to get there that quick. And by the way, why didn't he just, if he shoved her aside, wouldn't it be easy? Why did he have to knock her out when he was leaving? Wouldn't he just be able to exit the house? Right? So you know, if we go back down here, this is, yeah, so Zaina's room's right here. And that's the door, so you'd see Kohberger coming at him. Let me get rid of this thing there. Coming at him like this. But so, like, after Kohberger comes out of here, steps down, he would be like this. And all of a sudden then he sees, so he's coming down the main stairs upstairs, let's say. And he's leaving. And he's right there, but Zaina's in there, and he's like, oh, crap. Pushes him out. So how does Ethan, from way around the corner, come running around? Then he has to kill Ethan. But Ethan was killed over in his room, so I don't know. Technically, the story doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Because they were both killed over in the room area. I could see if one of them was attacked here, that would make more sense. Unless you think that he was going to leave out the front door, which would be really stupid, given he had parked likely back up here, up into the hills. Up on top of that hill. So I don't know. I think it's, quote, possible, but not. It's kind of missing some elements that are needed. Yeah. Let's see. I think Ethan was sleeping. Yeah. The knife sheath to me doesn't mean anything, So a lot of people think that the knife sheath being upstairs, absolutely. I think it's more logical that the girls upstairs were killed first, but not because of the knife sheath. But when people say, oh yeah, the knife sheath up there, that means, it doesn't mean anything at all. We don't know where he would have, let's say he walks into the house and the knife sheath isn't even on his belt or anything. It's just sort of in a pocket, or he's just holding it. And somehow just, at some point during, like he was downstairs first and he went upstairs. Either way, but I think upstairs was first, and therefore it was left there. So it doesn't point to it being first to me. Like if the sheath was found downstairs, I still think upstairs is more likely. Although I got to admit, the part with Zaina is weird because it feels like if they were attacked first, Zaina and Ethan, and then he goes upstairs and kills Madison and Kaylee, and then on the way down there's this whimpering, and then he goes, hey, I'm here to help, as if he's another person. Then he finishes off Zaina. That makes more sense to me than in the same moment in time. Like you knock him out, and then all of a sudden she goes, hey, I'm here to help, and then he kills her again. I don't know. Something just doesn't really make sense to me with that one. Yeah, maybe there's something, because it's weird how they always mention the bathroom all the time down there. Like there's really no purpose of mentioning the bathroom, but it sort of seemed like it was a prominent thing to mention. No. Was there other DNA present on the sheath? Why would that have anything at all to do with anything? He's toast, man. Yeah, there's lots of people there. There's DNA all over that house. There's probably hundreds of people. All the thing that matters is, see, if the defense can get the sheath thrown out. Interestingly, though, it still led to, his house, and he's throwing stuff away wearing gloves into somebody else's garbage can. Now, these guys are going to use the old hocus pocus. Touch DNA, everybody. It's touch DNA. We don't know if so-and-so shook hands with Chuck. Then they met at McDonald's, and then he grabbed the toilet, and then it transferred to his hand, and then he touched the knife sheath. If he knocked Zaina out coming downstairs, then murders Ethan, then comes out, and Zaina's still alive, he says, here to help. But see, where was she, Quinby? See, in your story right there, if he knocks Zaina out coming down the stairs, okay, knocks her out, yep. Then murders Ethan, then comes out, and Zaina is still alive, so Zaina at that point is in the kitchen area, right? But she wasn't found there. She was found murdered in her bedroom on the floor. So you see how that kind of doesn't work there a little bit? I'm just trying to work through it with you there. I don't think it'd only be touch DNA. There was enough to run at least 2 profiles with it, according to the doc. I don't know what you're talking about, Chris, actually. Let's see.
Anna out coming downstairs, then Ethan, then comes out and Anna's still alive.
Right.
He says here to help to keep
So how did she end up in her room, Quinby? So she was at the bottom of the stairs. So how come she was found murdered in her room and that's where she bled out? Oh, she's saying that's where she was found? No, she wasn't found there. She was found in the bedroom. I've got the documents that say it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not putting any misinformation out here. I'm just telling you. What are you talking about, Mustang Sally? No, her room wasn't near the bottom of the stairs. Have you guys not watched this channel, or? What do you mean by all accounts? That's not true either. They say that she was found in the bedroom, and so was Ethan. Now, it's possible one of them was found outside, but that's not the bottom of the stairs, right?
From Alex, she was found right outside bedroom by adjoining bathroom.
Hey, thanks, Bama Forever. Sorry for another crazy night in here, but seems like they're always like that. Doesn't matter what case you bring up. As long as if it's a popular case, you get the wackos that show up, you know. They think they're just so on to something. He did say, have you arrested anybody else yet? You remember that? Maybe he did have an accomplice. He was there. If he wants to give up that other name, great, but...
Nightfall. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Chat and mods.
Thank you so much, Bama Forever, the legend. Just got to get some sleep. Yeah. That's right. I think you live way on the other side of the 3 hours ahead, right? I think there's almost no chance there was an accomplice. He might try to work that in, but how does it help him? Hey, everybody, I was there, man. I did it and everything, but I had an accomplice. I'm not going to give up his name. Okay, well, you're guilty too, so... Because they haven't identified him. The sources. What do you mean? Why have they only unidentified? They just haven't been able to identify 2 of them, I guess. I'm shocked if there was someone else involved. Yeah. Man, so much paranoia in this case. It's just weird. This case is, I bet it's absolutely airtight. And Kohberger's going to go down, and he should, because he did this. Okay, so anyways, let me get back to this. The product of genealogy conducted by the FBI was a family tree that contained the name, birth date, and death of hundreds of relatives. Yep, IgG process pointed law enforcement towards defendant, but it did not provide law enforcement with substantive evidence of guilt. The FBI did not, for example, conduct a direct comparison between the SNP profile from the K-bar with the CODIS, is what they're about to say, and defendant's SNP profile. That type of direct comparison required more traditional STR DNA analysis, which was conducted by the Idaho State Police, not the FBI. In the PCA it says right before Zena's room. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't say that in there. I've heard people say that, like witnesses and everything. Here, let me go get it. Hold on. Yeah. Right, in the room though. In the room. Here, let me get to the... Unless maybe that's just what I was assuming. Let me see. Let me try it. I mean, I guess it's possible. I've always assumed what it meant. Okay. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned was through Zaina's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room. Was Zaina Kernodle, hereafter Kernodle's room. Just before the room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. So here we are. Let's go.
Just before this room, there was a bathroom.
Hold on. So I'm going to go like this.
As I approached the room,
Here it is. Here it is. I'm going to go right here. So we're right there, and there is the bathroom on the left-hand side right there, right? There's the bathroom. This is Zaina's bedroom right there. Let's see. Zaina Kernodle, hereafter Kernodle's room. Just before the room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body later identified as Kernodle laying on the floor. Well, that's actually... Well, let's see, but hold on. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also, listen to this, also in the room was a male. Okay, so that's where you make the connection that, okay, he was also in the room too. He could just see her in the room because the door was open. Does that make sense? I mean, why here would he say, also in the room was a male, later identified, or is he just saying, also in the room, there was a male? You know, we don't know, because all I can see is it says, also in the room was a male. Guess what? Also in the room was a male. That is worded saying that there's also, she was in the room too. So we don't know if the punctuation here is wrong or it's correct. You're assuming it's not to fit your story, and I'm just using it how it is. Also in the, it could be also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin. Okay, I'm reading it how it is. It says also in the room was a male, meaning Zaina was in the room too. So I guess we'll have to find out which was which. I always thought it was Ethan that was in the hallway a little bit. That's what I was told early on, but I don't know. So what do you think? But there's got to be hundreds and hundreds of profiles in there. And maybe sometimes the DNA profiles aren't very strong. I can see the body later identified as Kernodle. Okay, we already did that. So I'm going to go back to this one. So I don't know. What do you think up there, Quinby? Because the way I'm reading it, it sounds like they're saying she was in the room too. The product, let's see, where are we at here? Prior to FBI, IgG, so before they started doing investigative genetic genealogy efforts, the ISP laboratory developed the traditional STR DNA profile from the DNA found on the K-bar knife sheath. After identification of defendant, law enforcement recovered, there you go, listen, trash from the home of the defendant's parents. An ISP laboratory did STR DNA analysis of items from the trash for comparison to unknown crime scene DNA. That comparison indicated the DNA found on the trash belonged to the biological...
Somewhat ambiguous,
Huh?
but curious.
Oh, because he's referring to Zaina's room. But he stated, as I approached the room. Yeah, but couldn't the door have been open in the room, Quinby? That as he approached the room, he could see her body in the room, and then later, Ethan's also in the room somewhere else that wasn't visible from the door when it was open. But I guess we'll find out someday. Yeah. So this is sort of interesting right here. Hold on. I gotta start this part over. Prior to the FBI IgG efforts, the ISP laboratory developed a traditional, I think like CODIS type profile from the DNA found on the K-bar knife sheath. After identification of defendant, law enforcement recovered trash from home of the defendant's parents, and ISP laboratory did SDR DNA analysis of items from the trash for comparison to the unknown crime scene data, meaning the DNA they got off the sheath. That comparison indicated the DNA found on the trash belonged to the biological father of the individual who left the DNA, and guess what? And then his son lives in the area of the crime and has a white Elantra. And he was hiding stuff using gloves and other garbage cans. I mean, if the judge ever would have denied something like this, they're freaking nuts, all right? That comparison indicated the DNA found on the trash belonged to the biological father of the individual who left the DNA on the K-bar knife sheath. Pursuant to a search warrant, law enforcement then collected DNA. See, this is exactly what I was telling you. They get a search warrant, and then they collect DNA from the defendant with the buccal swab. Once he's in custody, they get the search warrant, they can get the actual DNA swab. A traditional SDR DNA comparison was done between the SDR profile found on the K-bar knife sheath and defendant DNA. The comparison showed a statistical match. Specifically, the STR profile is at least 5.37 octillion times. Now, I heard somebody say today, oh, it's like you'd have to go to another planet. No, it's not. Oh, that's not like that at all. Octillion is... Okay, so a billion is 1,000 millions, right? So I would imagine an octillion would be something like, like... I would say one octillion is 1,000 septillions, and then that's 1,000 sextillion. I mean, listen, you'd have to land on 90 quadrillion planets to find a match, is what they're saying there. You'd have to have something like, let's say you had 1 billion more planet Earths, and then you multiply that times 1 billion again, and then multiply that times 1 billion, and then you might have the number of planets that it'd take to find, and they were all human, just like Earth, a duplicate type of, and then you might find somebody similar. That's how ridiculously shitty the odds are here. All right? The Earth has 7 or 8 billion people on it. Right? So after that, a trillion is 1,000 billions. So even if there was just a trillion to 1, you'd have to put something like 120 planet Earths. But it's not a trillion, everybody. There's a number after a trillion, then there's a number after, then there's quadrillion after that one, then there's like octillion, then there's sextillion, then there's septillion, and then there's octillion. And each one of those is 1,000 times the other one. It's ridiculous, you guys. It's like there is no chance. Although you have to say there is a chance, because it is literally a mathematical 5.37 octillion. Now, it's way more than 1 billion cubed. All right, anyways, the genealogy conducted by the FBI resulted in... Well, maybe not, because it's only 1,000 times. You might be right on that. Yes, I think the door was open, about to return food bag to the kitchen. Surprised by Bryan Kohberger at the bottom... Huh? But that doesn't make any sense, Quinby. I'm not trying to make you be an asshole or something. I'm just saying, if she was attacked over there, how did she get back to the bedroom? After she was at the bottom of the stairs.
The door was open, about to return food bag to kitchen. Surprised by BK at bottom of stairs as he came down. Knocks her out, sees light from her arm, M's Ethan, comes out and stabs her.
Huh? I don't get it. I don't get it. About to return food bag to the kitchen. Surprised by Kohberger at the bottom of the main stairs there. As he came down, then he knocks her out. So she's sitting right there at the base of the stairs. And then the light from her room. And then he goes and murders Ethan. And then, so did she run back to the room to help Ethan? No, it's not. It's not only just feet. Let me show you where it is. Hold on a second. Look at it. I'll do this from the down. So here, look at. Let me go back this way again. So here you come up the stairs from outside, right? There's Zaina's room right there, where this body I have on the ground, which is Ethan. And then the bottom of the stairs is over here to the left. So watch, once I go into this room, turn around and come back out, you go to the right now, and there's the bottom of the stairs. So you're talking about right here. See? It's right there. That's the bottom of the stairs. Does that change your opinion at all, or? Hey, but I love it, man. Just keep... see, she's using the super chat exactly how you're supposed to use it. You know, literally sending it in and having a conversation with the super chat. It's awesome. That's what it's for, you know. Tina Susser, I meant both pictures. All right, let me get back to this again. We're kind of it's taking a while to get through this thing. The FBI did not download or create copies. Much of the information relied on by the FBI was reviewed through... Where were we at? There we are. We're right here. Specifically, the STR profile is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be if defendant is the source than if an unrelated individual randomly selected from the general population. So you'd have to find, like... You know, 2 quadrillion. I mean, I can't tell you the number. They don't exist. The genealogy conducted by the FBI resulted in a lead that pointed law enforcement to defendant, but it did not result in the creation of many documents or records. Much of the information relied on by the FBI was only viewed through the user portal in the publicly available genetic genealogy service and other investigative databases. The FBI did not download or create copies of those records. Once defendant was in custody, the FBI removed the SNP FBI removed the SNP profile from the genetic genealogy service pursuant to the United States Department of Justice interim policy for forensic genetic... Man, that's kind of weird. It takes away all sort of the information on how you developed it. I mean, you could do it again and show it, because it wouldn't matter now as long as you've procured the DNA profile. You could just do it again, and it's really just the DNA comparison that matters. But you kind of want to have all of that in there. This means the FBI no longer has access to view much of the information it used. Why didn't they print this off? To create the family tree, and cannot view it again without resubmitting the SNP profile to the genetic genealogy services. To the state's knowledge, the only records that reflect the FBI effort to create the family tree is the family tree itself. Oh, well, there you go. I hear you, and so hard to keep up with chat. I would love it if you do a call-in sometime. Point to explain. I never shared with others and never heard my opinion. I've never shared with others and never heard my opinion before. Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know. I mean, it seems like it kind of something like that would randomly be talked about, that sequencing, but... yeah, one of these days. Definitely call in and explain it while we're looking at the map, and you can try to...
went so hard to keep up with chat. I would love if you do a call in at some point to explain. I've never shared with others and never heard my opinion before.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of makes sense, but I think you got to put things in... Yeah, I mean, so he comes down and sees her. Maybe she got up, she was at the bottom of the stairs. I think this sounds better. If you want to do it like this, like... she's at the bottom of the stairs, and he shoves her down to leave, but Ethan is, at that very time, after they eat the food... How about this story? After they eat their food, Ethan has a curfew anyways, right? So they eat the food, she's heading to the kitchen, and he's heading down the hallway to go down the stairs and out the front door. So right when he shoves her aside, Ethan shows up, and, you know, she maybe gets hit to the ground or whatever, and then he chases... He's like, holy shit, and he runs back to the room because he wasn't far enough. He goes back to the room, and he goes in there and he kills him, and then at that point, she gets up and maybe goes to check on Ethan or something, and then he kills her near the room too or something. Something like that. I don't know. It's hard to get her back down the hallway, though. No, see you later. Have a good one. Good job out there. Yeah, you too. I don't believe anything about that glove. Come on, Amber. You don't believe the glove thing, do you? Oh, you're talking about that guy. Okay, yeah. I think that's what you're saying. I don't know. I think people just tweak and tweak and tweak and try to make something work. But after tweaking a lot, it turns out to be something that's kind of a little gets convoluted when you start doing that. But yeah, maybe
we are so in the same page.
maybe we'll do a Kohberger call-in show next week or something.
You'll get it if we can chat at some point, Liv.
Don't forget to check in, Quinby. Maybe we'll do one. I like those call-in shows because a lot of people called in. And thank you for your generosity by putting in all the super chats, and you know, that was very kind of you. Thank you. That's kind of a little disheartening that they got rid of sort of their product, their not their product, the workflow that they did behind the scenes, but this means the FBI no longer has access to view much of the information it used to create the family tree, like looking in newspapers and things like that. It cannot view it again without resubmitting the SNP profile to the Genealogy Service. To the state's knowledge, the only records that reflect the FBI's efforts to create the family tree is the family tree itself. And maybe that's why they shouldn't have switched over to the FBI, because the regular shops out there, they don't do that. Notes jotted down by FBI agents as they constructed the family tree, so they do have that, and any records created to document the removal of the SNP profile from the Genealogy Service pursuant to a DOJ policy. The state has not yet, nor does the state possess these records or copies of these records. Well, where's this part about the other unknown samples? Is this a searchable document? Let me see. Oh, there's 6 unknowns in here. Okay, that was the first. Wait, no. Genealogy users normally looking to trace their lineage, connect with unknown. Any remaining extract from the victim's nightgown containing the mixture of victim and unknown. That's at the top. Yeah, that was in that part too. Yeah, so where does it mention the, how far down in the document? Oh, the defense docs? Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really interest me that much. I gotta be honest. It's just, you know, of course there's a lot of DNA sitting around in the house. Wait, we weren't able to identify these 2 DNA samples. I don't know. Who cares? Bryan Kohberger's DNA was on the Sheath. He owns a white Elantra. He's studying criminology. He is... he's a nut job. I mean, you could... And just look at the probable cause document. Where he was driving and things like that on that day. Unless they're going to try to say that wasn't him driving his own car. Oh, there's plenty of other cars around here without front license plates. Huh? But if they're using a crooked cop's glove, fine. Huh? Who said that they're actually using McDummie's glove? Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? Yeah, what a shameful moment that would be. Oh man. Well, what's the good information that's on those documents? I mean, I have access to all the documents here. Do you know what were they just put out on the 23rd? Because hold on a second. I can go over here like this, and you know, what's the date on those things? Come on, let's go. Is it one of the 23rds or what? Like, we got the 16th up here. Which one is it? Now, the one you sent the other day was the one I just looked at. That's the one. It was on the 16th. It was the... yeah, remember that? No, that wasn't the one that you sent me the other day. Because the one you sent the other day was the one I just read, because I downloaded it. So it's on the 23rd. Okay. Which one on the 23rd? There's a whole bunch of them. It says defendant motion to shorten time. Notice of hearing defendant's motion to compel. Order reserving ruling on the issue of cameras. Nope. Order denying the Associated Press motion. Nope. Order denying Shannon Gray's request. Don't know what that is. Revise amendment. Non-dissemination order. Is that the one? Motion to file defense counsel. First sworn statement of facts. Order granting motion. Okay. I was reading the protective order from the 16th. Huh? What are you talking about, KK? What do you mean, oh my god, oh my god? Against protective order. Yeah, well, where is it? Oh, shit. What happened? Did I just go to a whole different screen? That was so weird. Man, I just learned a new shortcut key. I meant to be over here, though. Protective. Okay, well, there's on the 22nd, there's an objection to state's motion for protective order. Is that it? I bet, yeah, that one's it. Is it this one right here? What am I looking at, Sean? Yeah, so what if there was none found in there? That doesn't shock me at all. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think he changed clothes somewhere else. While I was hitting the shortcut key, it made my face really big on the screen. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I just hit a button over here and it made that one bigger. It wasn't like a big deal. I was like, whoa, look at my big on the screen. I think he just took all of his clothes off after he left the house and put on something else. Well, he found it was there like a week later. Why does there need to be an explanation, Danielle? Yeah, well, his lawyers are going to say that. It's stupid. He did it. He was driving the Elantra. He was using a glove to put stuff in a trash because he knew his DNA might be at the crime scene. Now, it would have been sort of hard to not get it in his car, but it also depends on how he killed these people. See, everyone always thinks, oh, blood has to be all over him. It doesn't, though. If he had them turn a different direction when he cut them, things like that, it just... And then maybe he took off those clothing, put them in a plastic bag, and then, maybe even had gloves on or something, and then he switched over, and then when he got home, he just made sure to, if there was any tiny little things of blood that he could... I don't know. It's just... It doesn't always work out like that. Is this the right document, though, right now that I'm looking at? The one that says the... what was it called? I just was looking at it. It was the objection. Okay. So let's see. How many? So it's only 8 pages. Let's go through it. Here we go. All right. Here we go, everybody. I'm going to be reading... On November 13, 2022, law enforcement responded to a 911 call. Don't you love that voice, everybody? A 911 call found Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Zanik Arnottle, and Ethan Chapin deceased. Law enforcement later found a K-bar knife sheath placed next to Mrs. Mogan on her bed. The sheath was placed button side down and partially under Miss Mogan and the comforter. So when they say placed, is that intentional? On November 20th, 2022, the Idaho State Police lab in Meridian, Idaho, located DNA on the bottom of the sheath and performed STR analysis that led nowhere when ran through CODIS. That doesn't sound very professional, the wording there, Combined DNA index system. Other than to show the provider was a male. By December 17th, 2022, it is kind of dorky. It was a used car salesman voice, Paulette. By December 17th, 2022, lab analysts were aware of 2 additional males' DNA within the house where the deceased were located. Yeah, there's all kinds of males there. And another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence on November 20th. Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, so that's a week later. That is the glove that McDummy provided in the case. Okay, that glove has absolutely nothing to do with anything. All right, because remember that was the time frame. It was 1 week later. That glove is meaningless. I mean, how embarrassing is that? If I was somebody, see, this was on November 13th and it was found on the 20th. So you're saying that there were all these law enforcement agents moving around looking at things and they all missed a pristine glove sitting on the snow right next to... Give me a freaking break. Come on. Unbelievable. Oh, you know what I hope? I hope if that turns out to... I don't know how they're going to prove it, but I think there's something... That glove was put there by some other means. Let's put it that way. Man, how embarrassing. You know what it's like? It's like in the Delphi case, these morons that think it was Ron Logan, and they're over there helping the defense, sending stuff in because Richard Allen is just so wonderful. He is innocent, everybody. It was Ron Logan and he's in the grave. So they'll do whatever it takes because they can't get off that it was not Ron Logan. So they're going to keep talking about it over and over and over again until somebody finally just says, "Yeah, okay, it's Ron Logan. Will you shut the..." Yeah, it's not going to happen. So here we go. Other people meddling in a case for popularity and ruining. I mean, giving them an out. And some, it's not really going to work, but yeah, because it's just a glove, and I guarantee it. I bet you identifiers could say who that DNA came from. They are the best and most nimble genetic genealogist company out there with geniuses working in there. Right. Anyways, by December 17th, 2022, lab analysts... Okay, so we're down here at this part. There was unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence on November 20th, 2022. Thanks, Amanda Johnson.
He created an
element. It's not very reasonable. It's really unreasonable. The thing is, there's a glove outside. I agree with what you're saying, but it's like there's a glove outside and it doesn't lead back to anybody. What connection does the glove have to the crime scene? There is no connection that you can make of it. Yet it's a glove that the defense can say, "Look, we think that this glove was you," but there's no proof that glove had anything to do with anything whatsoever. Is there blood on it from one of the victims, or... There's just a glove sitting there. Huh? What are you talking about, Daniel? I think you're kind of misstating how I could never get away with the murder. I would just turn myself in. Well, good. He's actually put an issue into... Yeah, but it's a really weak issue. The more important ones are the 2 DNA profiles found in the house. Except those aren't really important. It's just there's a lot of parties there. And another unknown male DNA on a glove found outside the residence. To this date, the defense is unaware of what sort of testing, if any, was conducted on these samples other than the STR DNA profiles. Further, these 3 separate and distinct male DNA profiles were not identified through CODIS, leading to the conclusion that the profiles do not belong to Mr. Kohberger. Okay, yep. I mean, that's absolutely right, yep. While this was ongoing, police were investigating many... See, what they did was they tested an object that, if there is DNA on it, leads directly to the killer. Does that make sense? You're not going to walk around and test things like a glove sitting outside in a parking lot found a week later. You're not going to do genetic genealogy on that. The glove itself, there's no evidence that the glove itself points to being involved in the case. The knife sheath absolutely points to that. Wouldn't you agree? So therefore, the DNA found on the knife sheath trumps anything else that they found out there. Now, while this was ongoing, police were investigating many various possible suspects. Many of them provided DNA. At least one had his DNA surreptitiously taken from a discarded cigarette. Many also had their phones taken and downloaded. One area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on camera located at 1122 King Road, first glimpsed by officers on November 18, 2022. By November 25, 2022, police believed the car to be a white Elantra, and also law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Precisely how the police came to believe the car was an Elantra is still unknown. Well, because it was seen on the camera at that house. A report from an analyst for the FBI dated March 21, 2023 shows the analyst heavily relying on a video of a car heading in the wrong direction and at the wrong time on Ridge Road. I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, Ridge Road, oh yeah. The wrong direction though, huh? Is that the, hold on, let me get to the, yeah, it was earlier, you know. Is this the, yeah. Here we go. Now this is the one that people said, oh, he's looking over at the, let's see. I guess in the wrong place. Over here. And what's Highway 8? And that's... maybe it's over here. What? Oh, there's Ridge Road right there. Yeah, so Ridge Road is... I'm not sure. It's weird because they call it Ridge Road and then it's Elantra Drive too, so I'm not really sure how they're doing that. But it's moving around. Yeah, I don't think that's the one they're talking about. The car wash is this thing over here. Ridge Road is over here. So maybe they're looking at a vehicle going like this or something. And it was on one of the loops it made. Because it looked like it was going like this multiple times, going around. And then finally went in. Oh, I have the web page open. Let me download this. At least one had, okay. One area of the investigation had to do with a white sedan seen on camera located at 1122 King Road, first glimpsed by officers on November 18, 2022. By November 25, 2022, police believed the car to be a white Elantra and asked law enforcement to be on the lookout for one. Precisely how the police came to believe the car was an Elantra is still unknown. A report from an analyst for the FBI dated March 21st, 2023 shows the analyst heavily relying on a video of a car headed in the wrong direction and at the wrong time on Ridge Road. So Ridge Road isn't the one that went by the gas station. At least it doesn't say that that's what the name is. No matter what came first, the car or the genetic genealogy, the investigation has provided precious little. There is no connection between Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. In essence, through the lack of disclosure and their motion to protect the genetic genealogy investigations, the state is hiding its entire case. The state apparently thinks that they need not explain how they came to think it was Mr. Kohberger's DNA on the sheath. Well, because it was. They did genetic genealogy on it. Presumably, the defense is expected to accept at face value that the sheath had touched DNA, just waiting for testing by all the FBI myriad of resources. Additionally, the defense is to guess whether the state focused its investigation on Mr. Kohberger via bizarrely complex DNA tree experiment. No, it's not an experiment. Or through the faulty identification of the vehicle involved in the case. Well, here's the thing, defense. Who cares? Once they compared the DNA sample on the sheath to Bryan Kohberger himself via a warrant and a buccal swab, it was a match to 6.5 octillion to 1. Isn't that all you need to know? It worked, defense. Whatever technique they were doing, it worked. It got right to it. The state apparently thinks that they need not explain how they came to think that it was... Okay. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Mr. Kohberger does not accept that his defense does not need this information. It rather obviously falls within the... I mean, I don't know if they're going to have to redo that, genetic genealogy. Why don't they hire their... How about this? Why doesn't the state pay $6,000 to a company independently of the FBI to do genetic genealogy on the same sample and see what happens?
But it's too late now. The genie's out of the bottle. Everybody knows the name Bryan Kohberger.
How about this? Give a sample to somebody. Don't even tell them what case it is, and let them figure out whose DNA it is. How about that? So you just, listen, we don't know who this is whatsoever. If we give you the sample, like here's what I would do. I would take the sample and give it to a lab, but don't tell them what it is. Do it completely clandestinely, whatever. I mean, go like this. Pretend you're a law enforcement agency, and you've got a DNA profile in a case that you're working on. They can't tell you the case or anything about it, but we need to know whose DNA this is. That's it. That's all they get to know. And they come back, and let's see if it lands on the same person. So they don't know what the case is. It could just be a random request. Nobody has a clue. Yeah. Hey, make sure to hit that subscribe button, everybody. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Mr. Kohberger does not accept the fact... Okay, we already did that. The state begins their argument claiming Rule 16 has no interest in IgG testing, and then ends their argument claiming that somehow people will stop sharing their genetics if they were to realize the government is watching. No. To begin with, the state apparently only wants to prevent Mr. Kohberger from seeing how the IgG profile was created and how many other people the FBI chose to ignore during their investigation. That's not how it works, actually. In essence, the state argues that if the later STR testing is accurate, then there is no reason to concern ourselves with how the state came to investigate Mr. Kohberger. Right, well, that's what I just said a minute ago. State's brief at 9. What's the state's argument? Asked this court and Mr. Kohberger to assume is that the DNA on the sheath was placed there by Mr. Kohberger and not someone else during an investigation that spans hundreds of members of law enforcement and apparently at least one lab the state refuses to name. Oh boy. So they're going to go down the conspiracy route. Perhaps most puzzling is the state's argument that while Rule 16b-5 requires them to turn over the results or reports from scientific investigation, it does not require the state to disclose what law enforcement does with the results or reports. State's brief at 14. First of all, that sounds like an admission that the information as to how the IGG was carried out should be disclosed. Second, what law enforcement does with results or reports is covered by Rule 16b-6, Statement of Prosecution Witness, and 8 police reports. Frankly, the fact that members of the FBI are so concerned about permitting Mr. Kohberger to know what they were up to with what was supposedly his DNA does not give one the impression that there is nothing to see here, as the state seems to imply. Finally, the state claims that ICR applies to the matter is quite bizarre. Presumably, the independent company the government relied on was paid for its work and would stand by it in court. The state provides no real argument as to why the company needs to be protected. Mr. Kohberger is left to suspect they wish to keep their methods from being questioned, to the extent that there is some concern about intellectual property that can be addressed via protective order that permits Mr. Kohberger and his defense team to review their work. Second, the state appears to argue that everyone living on Earth that provides genetic information is A, unaware that their DNA could be used by a government somewhere for something, and B, is an informant within the meaning of the term in the rule. The state citation to case involving actual informants hardly help it make this incredible leap. No court has ever found the existence of a DNA informant. It would appear that the state is acknowledging that the companies are providing personal information to the state, that those companies and the government would suffer if the public would... I mean, they wouldn't, though. That's the crazy part. Everybody knows these things exist, and people that upload to GEDmatch know that that's what they're used for. 23andMe and Ancestry do not use these. Now, if they somehow were using them without the knowledge of those companies, and that's why they hid those things, oh man, then there's this problem. You know, was the FBI using the larger databases, and then they just didn't want to get caught, so they deleted all that? I mean, that's pretty bad if that's what happened, but I don't think so. It's kind of a weird, like, rule that they have, that you delete the tree that you made and all that stuff. Especially for a law, you know, like a legal case that you need. Oh, yeah. Let's see. In any case, it's hard to understand why Mr. Kohberger should be the one to suffer. Mr. Kohberger has reason to be extremely suspicious of IGG used in this case, rather than seeing it as some sort of complex tree building that led to him. It appears far more like a lineup where the government was already aware of who they wanted to target. No, they didn't. No, they were doing the tree early on. Rather than have the investigation done by someone blind to that fact. Well, there you go. That's the idea I just had. The FBI chose to do it with themselves. This is akin to the police pulling in Mr. Kohberger and 5 of his cousins off the street and then pointing at him. I don't think that's at all how it worked. I think they did that kind of early on. The FGG. Because remember, they didn't even know anything about Kohberger till late in the month. Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to keep going through this. It's just, I think that was about it anyway. The only authority the state has in its favor that is on point is a trial court order from a California case that settled before it could lead anywhere. That decision relied on People versus Johnson. The court in Johnson was not deciding whether a defendant had a right to know how he was identified, only that his identification could come in a trial without mini trial about it. A better case on the issue, State versus Ortega. In this case, an appellate court heard similar arguments about the need for software used for facial recognition to be discovered to the defendant, though they would not be admitted at trial. The court is considering the matter found, we are keenly aware the case we have discussed involved instances concerning Fry hearing and potential expert testimony, and that here we are dealing instead with eyewitnesses who have already identified the perpetrator and the identification found admissible under Wade. However, the facts of this case convince us the defendant will be deprived of due process if he does not have access to the raw materials integral to the building of an effective defense. Right. So what's probably going to have to happen here is it might actually be where an independent company, completely blind and unknowing that they're even going to be working on it whatsoever at all. That means you have to have it coming from a dummy, like law enforcement agency. When I'm saying dummy, like it's a real law enforcement agency, but the submission isn't really from them. It's from the FBI, but they need to keep its anonymity, and you need to do it. And then you can take all the research that it came up with, and boom. So if you can't have Kohberger hiring a genetic genealogist and looking for a way for it not to be him. This is, that's where you start screwing with stuff. That's not what their goal is. So you just give it to an independent company. They don't know what it is, and see what they come up with. Anyways, you guys, that's it for me. Do you guys have anything else, or anything?
Wow, that's some good stuff, Gray.
How about this one right here? Here, listen to this one right here. Listen to this one.
Hey, that sounds like me, Gray. That sounds like me, Gray. Now, man, you hear me, Gray? Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell that was. It was in that program that I had. It was funny. Thought it sounded like Mary Lou. It was pretty good. Anyways, anything else? Any last thoughts for tonight? I might do another interrogation tomorrow, a different case, if you guys are interested in that. How about I'll get, I'll buy memberships again. I wasn't able to store everybody, so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. 5 memberships coming up. Who's going to get them? Which trolls are going to pick these up tonight? Oh god, there's one right there. Bobby Swain. Troll City. Nashville Belle. Tattooed Birdie. It's a crying shame. Probably another one. Let's see. Kelly McClure. Okay, you're not a troll, Bobby. Good to hear. Good to hear. Okay, and thank you to Caligal3, Kathy Chapin, 15 Lee, Caligal3, Frazzled Cat, Fiona W, Cindy J, Eugenie, Revengeance became a new member, K-Me, Kathy Chapin, Alley Cake, Nona 617, Brown Eyed Girl 714, Amber Maiden, Lily, CSV Kathy, Christy Kazi, Lisa Murphy, Robin Berarda, twice. Candy Girl became a new member. Teresa, Ashley Snow, 6 months. Daphne, Christy Kazi, Quinn B, Amanda Johnson. And by the way, thanks all for everybody's channel members. Really help support the channel. Thanks to all the mods out there for dealing with, you know, nights like this when you got the crazy people that show up. And just every night, really, you guys do a great job out there. Appreciate that. Quinn B, Bama forever with a cat eye. Then Quinn B. You had a lot there, Quinn B. And then Quinn B again, and then Quinn B again. Let's see. I think there was, how many? Hold on a second. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, she made a big difference on the total by herself. Let's see. Two, 7, 7, 9, 79. Yeah, like basically $83 or something on there. So thank you so much. Amanda Johnson, and then I gifted 5 memberships. So what's weird is if she didn't do that, we wouldn't have made the goal. Man, that's amazing. So thank you. But the day crew did well today. See how amazing that was? This, just shifting off of the McStay trial that had like 30 people watching to something else we had 200. 7 times the number, basically. That's definitely a troll right there. That name right there, as above, so below. Yeah, there. That name is always a. You can probably just look it up and. Let's see. Yeah, May 30th. Yeah. See you later. Have a good one. Let's see. Is that Raffy? When did he get better? I don't know what that means. No idea what that means. Is that Raffy? Huh? When did he get a better personality? Who? What? When? Anyways, did you guys find the show interesting tonight? I mean, the defense is just doing what the defense does. Although I have to admit, there's an issue where they're not showing the discovery of the DNA tree. They deleted it. The FBI did. So they'd have to kind of just do it again. Yeah, we had a whole bunch of different topics tonight, right? So, anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I really appreciate you all being here. And, we're still on our mission. We're kicking ass out there. We're one of the few true crime channels. If there are some others, but we're one of the very few that actually go out and make a difference in the true crime world by, really specifically by funding these DNA cases where we're literally giving people their names back. And then we've also given, over the years, $20,000 to 3 different companies. NCMEC, RAIN, which is Violence Against Women. NCMEC was National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And Texas EquiSearch. So probably at the end of this month I'll give some more to like NCMEC and maybe and RAIN or something like that. Or maybe Texas EquiSearch. It's been a while. So Texas EquiSearch and NCMEC, and then the rest goes to the Geneology fund that we have put together. All right. I like this music for some reason. It sounds like Hawaiian. Yeah. So that's it, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. Oh, and thanks to the Bama Forever for the one cat eye that was out there. So thank you very much. Man, where is it? And where is the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? There it is.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector.
The projector.
I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya
on a stretcher
if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Greg is gonna give another lecture.
Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a protector.
Fool the
Flactor,
interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector.
With all respect, Joe.
Just remember I'm a typical fucking judge. I have no agenda. I'm no pretender.
And I'll send it to you straight without the blender.
And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, let's get right back to work. All right.
Gee.
Come on, Mary Lou. Come on. Every single night you have to say the same thing?
Yes, Gray, I say it every single night. Gee.
Yeah, you already did the G part a minute ago, okay?
Oh my God, Gray, that scared me. That scared the hell out of me, Gray. Why'd you do that?
Well, I was hoping maybe it would scare you.
That's not very nice, Gray.
Oh my God, Mary Lou, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just fine, Gray. Good night, everybody.
Oh, you see how that was totally bogus? Because if she was really crying, don't you think she would have still had some lingering cry when she came back?
No, I just get over things really easily, Gray.
I call BS on that. I call BS. All right, we'll see you guys later, and be safe out there.
Ring around the rose.
Yeah, that cry's got to linger a little bit.